Whoever actually trusted an Eiichiro Oda silhouette anyway? For years, we were deliberately led to believe the Prince of Elbaf was this goofy, disproportionate clown with a massive, ridiculous crown, just another weirdly shaped background character waiting to be a punchline in a gag. We saw that shadowy outline during the whole Cake Island arc, and collectively wrote him off as a joke. Then episode 1160 drops. The snow clears. The dramatic original soundtrack kicks in, and suddenly the entire internet is staring at a terrifying, god-tier blend of Doflamingo's psychopathic swagger, Kaido's demonic scale, and Katakuri's sheer, unadulterated edge. We finally stepped out of the bizarre plastic illusion of the Lego Block Kingdom, pushing through the biting snow and frozen wastelands of the real Elbaf, only to come face to face with the accursed prince himself. Loki is finally here, and he completely shattered every single expectation we had been holding on to for nearly a decade. You think you know exactly what One Piece is building toward, and then Oda drops a chained-up titan with bandages wrapped over his eyes who casually claims to be the sun. Go right to the face of the actual, literal sun god. The atmosphere instantly shifted from a whimsical giant island adventure straight into a survival horror masterpiece, and the fandom has absolutely lost its collective mind. I have to talk about the voice because the psychological grip this casting choice has on the audience is truly unprecedented. The exact second that man opened his mouth, the entire One Piece community suffered a mass synchronized meltdown. We are talking about Yuichi Nakamura here, the exact same legendary vocal cords behind Satoru Gojo from Jujutsu Kaisen, Bruno Bucciarati from JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, and Gray Fullbuster from Fairy Tail. You take a character design that is already dripping with chaotic, unhinged villain energy, you chain him to the frozen roots of a mythical tree, and then you give him the smoothest, most impossibly charismatic voice in the entire anime industry. Watching the community react to this reveal has been nothing short of a psychological study in real time. I was watching veteran reactors completely short-circuit on camera. There is this one specific moment with a reactor named Jamie where the second Loki let out that quiet, devious hum. You could literally hear her voice drop an octave. You could see the exact moment her brain threw away all logic, threw away her moral compass, and started aggressively obsessing over a man the size of a skyscraper who is currently locked up for violently murdering his own father. It is absolutely wild how a single casting choice can instantly elevate a character from a looming mythological threat into the internet's newest dangerous obsession. People in the comments are out here boldly declaring that Doflamingo has finally been dethroned as the ultimate toxic favorite. And honestly, they might be completely right. You stick a blindfold on a guy, give him that wild tongue-out maniacal smile, give him six-pack abs the size of minivans, and cast Gojo's voice actor. You are basically weaponizing anime psychology against your own audience. It is a cheat code for instant popularity. And this brings me to the most hilarious, heavily debated, and utterly chaotic piece of lore surrounding this guy. This is the man Charlotte Lola rejected. Let that reality sink in for a second. We have known about Prince Loki for years, specifically because Big Mom was blindingly furious that her daughter Lola ran away from an arranged marriage with him. Back then, we all assumed Lola ran because Loki must have been some hideous, tyrannical monster that would have made her life a living hell. But now, seeing the fan base react to his actual incredibly aesthetic design, the comment sections have turned into an absolute war zone of people screaming at Lola for fumbling the biggest bag in the history of the Grand Line. You have thousands of fans genuinely outraged, asking how she could possibly look at this absolute titan of supreme drip and say no. But then you have to step back, turn off the thirst for a second, and look at the horrifying biological logistics of the situation. Loki is roughly 63 years old and stands 2,100 centimeters tall. That is nearly 69 feet of pure, unfiltered giant muscle. Lola is a regular-sized human woman. People are out here joking that she just didn't like his bad boy vibe. But let us be entirely real here. Lola was looking at pure spatial geometry and actively choosing to survive. She did not reject a political alliance that would have given Big Mom the strongest army in the world. She rejected a literal death sentence. Yet that undeniable fact does not stop the relentless wave of fans boldly claiming they could easily fix him. You cannot fix a 69-foot-tall patricide suspect who has been chained up with links the size of pirate ships. But the sheer, unapologetic delusion of the anime community is honestly what makes these character reveals so endlessly entertaining. let us really break down what makes this introduction so incredibly potent from a cinematic perspective. Oda has this relentless habit of making us wait decades for a character, and the longer we wait, the exponentially harder it is for the anime to actually live up to the built-up hype. We saw it with Kaido, we saw it with Vegapunk, but Loki feels entirely different. The visual storytelling in that single scene where Luffy ventures alone into the snow is absolute perfection. The extreme contrast between the bright, saturated, plastic-colored nonsense of the fake sun god in the Block Kingdom and the dark, grim, frozen reality of the actual Elbaf is a masterclass in tonal whiplash. You have Luffy, tiny and completely unfazed, standing in the deep snow in front of a being that literally radiates world-ending malice. The massive chains echoing in the icy wind, the ominous heavy orchestral music, the sheer suffocating scale of the environment. Fans were quick to point out how the scene gives off heavy pre-time skip vibes, tapping into that raw, unfiltered sense of exploration, wonder, and genuine danger that we have not truly felt since Thriller Bark or Little Garden. It is the distinct feeling of being completely out of your depth in a world that does not care about you. Loki is not just another pirate Captain Luffy has to punch incredibly hard. He is a walking mythological disaster waiting to be unleashed. But of course, because this is the One Piece anime, we absolutely cannot have a massive internet-breaking character reveal without a wave of intense, deeply polarizing controversy tearing through the fandom. Right alongside the massive hype for Loki, there is a very vocal, very frustrated segment of the audience pointing out the glaring reality of Toei Animation's adaptation rate. Fans have calculated that Toei adapted a grand total of maybe 14 pages of the manga for this entire episode. You have people actively comparing this to modern seasonal anime like Wistoria or Demon Slayer that are pushing 40 to 50 pages an episode, and it is sparking a massive, heated debate about how the anime handles narrative tension. On one side, you have fans who are absolutely furious that the pacing is dragging out every single footstep in the snow, stretching panning shots of the environment just to pad the runtime. They are terrified that the Elbaf Arc is going to take 3 literal years to finish at this agonizing rate, and they just want to get straight to the massive lore bombs. But then you have the atmospheric purists, the fans who are actually aggressively defending the slow burn. They are arguing that this creeping methodical pacing is exactly what a scene of this magnitude demands. You cannot just rush the reveal of a character we have been waiting 7 years to see. The slow, grueling trek through the snow, the creeping realization of his immense size, the heavy, suffocating silence before he finally speaks, that is pure atmospheric world building. It creates a tension that static manga panels simply cannot replicate in the same way. Is it padding? Absolutely, there is no denying that. But when the padding makes the world feel this massive, ancient, and terrifying, maybe we need to stop complaining about chapter counts and let the animators cook. The fact that an incredible talent like Dennis Cablau stepped up to be the animation director for this specific sequence and absolutely nailed the terrifying grandeur of Loki proves that when Toei wants to deliver cinematic theatrical quality gold, they absolutely possess the firepower to do it. What truly elevates this entire encounter is the heavy, undeniable, suffocating presence of Norse mythology wrapping around every single piece of dialogue and visual design. Elbaf has always been Oda's dedicated playground for Viking lore, but Loki brings a terrifying new flavor of apocalypse to it. In the real-world mythological texts, Loki is the ultimate trickster, the chaotic outcast, the direct catalyst for Ragnarok, the absolute twilight and end of the gods, and here we have the Prince of Elbaf, violently chained to what looks incredibly similar to the roots of Yggdrasil, the legendary world tree, eternally punished for murdering his own father, King Harald. The parallels are staggering and deliberate. Fans are already tearing through mythological history, pointing out how the real Loki was chained to a rock with agonizing poison dripping on his face, destined to eventually break free and trigger the end of the world. And who exactly is standing right in front of him right now? Monkey D. Luffy, the most chaotic, unpredictable force of liberation on the entire planet. A kid who literally cannot see a person in chains without immediately wanting to break them. The community is having an absolute meltdown, realizing that Luffy is basically walking right up to the literal trigger of the apocalypse with a giant, oblivious smile on his face. And then Loki drops the absolute nuclear bomb of the episode. He leans down and calls himself the Sun God. This is the wildest, most disrespectful flex in the modern history of the series. We have spent years building up the intricate lore of Nika, the warrior of liberation, the true sun god that brings smiles to the enslaved people of the world. And now we have a massive, bloodthirsty patricidal giant claiming the exact same sacred title. It creates this incredible, layered ideological clash that Oda is setting up perfectly. Vegapunk explicitly told us that devil fruits are the literal physical manifestations of human dreams and desires. What if different cultures across the Grand Line have completely different interpretations of who or what the sun god is supposed to be? What if Loki's version of the sun god is not about liberation, freedom, and laughter, but about scorching the earth, absolute dominance, and complete destruction? The sheer, unbridled arrogance of Loki declaring himself a god right to the face of the actual literal sun god is a testament to his overwhelming toxic ego. Fans are already theorizing what legendary devil fruit he ate after murdering his father, with massive speculation pointing toward a mythical zone model of Nidhogg, the monstrous dragon that eternally gnaws at the roots of the world tree. If that theory holds true, we are not just looking at a giant, we are looking at a creature capable of tearing the very foundation of the world apart. Beyond these massive, earth-shattering reveals, the fandom has been hyper-fixated on the tiny, brilliant, easily missed details Oda sprinkled throughout the episode, proving once again that his narrative continuity is completely unmatched. Take the subtle X mark clearly visible on the newspaper picture of Luffy's arm. A shocking amount of anime-only watchers and even some of the biggest reaction channels completely missed the profound genius of this specific moment. They assumed it was just a bizarre animation glitch, or they mistakenly thought Luffy somehow permanently retained the Alabasta mark even while transformed into Gear 5. But the real ones, the dedicated fans paying absolute attention to the timeline, immediately realized the beautiful truth. Princess Vivi is currently in hiding with Big News Morgans. She is one of the only people on the entire planet who knows the true, deep emotional meaning of that exact X mark on the left arm. She deliberately manipulated the photo on the front page of the world's most widely distributed newspaper to send a desperate, brilliantly coded message to her pirate crew. She is screaming to the world that she is alive, without alerting the world government. And the absolute tragic beauty of this sequence is that only the original crew members, the specific ones who were standing shoulder to shoulder on the deck of the Going Merry leaving Alabasta, understand the heavy weight of that mark. Robin looks at the newspaper and casually mentions that it finds it vaguely familiar, which is a mind-blowing detail because she was literally hiding in the dark below the deck of the ship when that iconic farewell happened. But Frankie, Brooke, and Jinbei are completely, hopelessly in the dark. It is such a quiet, profoundly emotional callback, hidden right in the middle of a massive, overwhelming lore dump. It perfectly balances the terrifying, godly scale of Loki's introduction with the intimate, deeply human, unbroken bonds of the Straw Hat crew. We are currently standing on the precipice of the most important, fundamentally game-changing arc in the 25-year history of One Piece. The entire community knows it. The reaction channels screaming at their monitors know it. The animators pouring their souls into these frames know it. Elbaf is not just another island on the log pose. It is the grand culmination of decades of meticulous world building. We are finally, desperately getting the answers we have been begging for. Since the dinosaurs of Little Garden, we have Harden's crew stepping out of the background and into the absolute spotlight. Characters like Gerd and Goldberg, who we literally saw as children in Big Mom's incredibly traumatic, horrific childhood flashback, are now fully grown, massive warriors interacting directly with our crew. Every single giant walking through the snow is a living, breathing lore bomb waiting to explode. And sitting chained at the dead center of this chaotic frozen kingdom is Loki, a character so impossibly hyped, so perfectly designed, and so incredibly, overwhelmingly dangerous, that he managed to steal the entire show and break the internet from the restrictive comfort of his own massive chains. He has not thrown a single punch. He has not revealed a fraction of his full devil fruit power. He has not even stood up completely straight, and he already has the entire world screaming his name. This is not just a new villain of the week to be defeated in a few months. This is a violent shifting of the narrative tectonic plates of the entire One Piece world, world. The accursed prince has spoken his first words. The absolute grandest stage in the world is finally set, and the only terrifying question left is whether the world is actually ready for what happens when those giant chains finally break.
If you enjoy this video, please like, share, subscribe and hit the bell to the later update from my channel. Thank you for watching till the end and see you in the next video.